What's up, guys? Yes, we're watching another animated story time. It's from the YouTube channel called Storytime Animated. Her links are all down below. Go check her out. And as always, please subscribe and follow me on Instagram. Links are all down below. But yeah, this video is called We Found Something About Our Teacher That Is, what's the rest of it? That Scared Us for Life. But yeah, comment below an inside joke that you and your friends have, and let's go.
Damien, Harold, and I were best friends since we were toddlers. Our moms told us we met in the park one day, and since then, we've been inseparable.
Must be nice.
We all went to the same schools and tried to make sure that we took the same classes, too. In our second year of high school, we had the craziest adventure of our lives, and it all started in science class.
I hated science class. It was the worst. I sucked at it.
It was a Monday, the first day of school. We walked into the science laboratory after lunch and sat together. "I hope Miss Smith is really teaching our class this year," Damien said. He was so excited. "Yeah, I sure hope so. We haven't had a hot teacher in a while. They're all so plain looking. I need some eye candy. What do you think, Carlos?" Harold chuckled while looking at me. I started daydreaming. Miss Smith was absolutely gorgeous, and she was part of the reason I chose science that year.
You nasty.
But my happy thoughts didn't last for a very long time. My daydreams were cut short as a series.
Wait, look at the back. Is that Edward Cullen from Twilight? This kid is white. You are a vampire.
This looking old man walked through the door. "Welcome to science class. I'm your teacher, Mr. Carter. You might have heard about me before. I'm the best teacher here. No one has ever failed my class. I've won so many awards and I've been offered jobs all over the planet.
Good for you.
I've chose to remain at this school to help
No one
you
cares.
kids." He laughed. It was true. He was the most respected teacher at our school, and we should have felt honored to be in his class. But instead, we were just frustrated. "Where's Miss Smith?"
Aw,
Damien
y'all don't get a pretty teacher to stare at and sexualize all day? How disappointing. This is school, not a strip club.
"She's moved to Alaska. She got tired of you teenage boys fantasizing about her. Besides, I'm just as good looking."
No, you're not. You look like you work at Subway, I'm sorry.
We heard groans all over the classroom. The rest of the day flew by, and after school, we went back to my house to play video games. It was our only way to relax after such a disappointing day. "Hey, Pipsqueaks," my older brother Jonathan said while interrupting our game and grabbing our bowl of snacks. "How was school?" he
Don't
asked.
take the food.
We paused our game and grabbed my bowl of snacks back from him. "School was going great until we found out that Mr. Carter is going to be our science teacher for the year," Harold groaned. "Have you seen Miss Smith? I dreamt about her all summer long, only to be greeted by that old man
That's
and his
weird.
lame jokes. I will never recover from this." "Mr.
So
Carter?"
dramatic.
Jonathan asked while looking worried. "Yeah, you know him? What's the matter?" I asked. "I don't know, that guy is weird. A few years ago, I was in his class. Everything was fine, really. He's a funny guy. But one day, my friend Yuri started failing assignments. Mr. Carter invited her over to his house for private tutoring. He
What?
said he really wanted to make sure that she passed his class and eventually her final exams, so she went."
I will say this, and I really hope you guys listen. Never, I repeat, never go to a teacher's house for anything, especially private tutoring. Any tutoring should go on at school during the school day. Never go to a teacher's house. I'm serious. Oh my God, this is bad.
He said. Then he went silent and looked like he was staring into space. "And then?" I asked.
Go
And
on.
then, well, Yuri was never the same. After only one night of tutoring, she aced every single exam and assignment after that. But she
That's
changed.
not good.
She used to be a happy, bubbly soul, but when she came back to class, she seemed dull and lifeless. She had this cold, sad stare in her
What do you
eyes.
do to her?
It was almost like she didn't even remember who I was. "Maybe it's because you're such a loser," I laughed. The
Rude.
boys and I disregarded his story and continued our game. The next few weeks at school were quite ordinary. We continued our usual routine of school, home, and video games. Then, one day, Harold got one of his assignments back from Mr. Carter, who looked a bit angry.
Calm
"Harold,
down.
you're putting no effort into your work. This is the 4th time I've had to give you an F. I think you owe me some sort of explanation," he said. "I guess I don't really understand this science stuff. I don't plan to do any of this after I leave school anyway. I'm
Same.
gonna be an architect. Besides, I only joined this class to stare at Miss Smith," Harold replied.
Dude, get over it.
"See me after class," Mr. Carter said coldly.
Get your big
and then
head out of my
walked
face.
away. After class, Damien and I waited outside for Harold. "This old bloke said I have to come over to his house for a private tutoring session.
No.
He says it'll make me pass, and that if I don't come, There'll be serious consequences. But we plan to play games tonight. I'm gonna kick your butt in FIFA 21 instead. Forget science, Harold said when he came outside. I think you should just go. It's one night anyway. It'll be fine. We can play FIFA all weekend, I said. We managed to persuade him to go to Mr. Carter's house, completely forgetting the story my brother had told us a few nights before. So he went that night while Damien and I played video games at my house until my mom chased him away and sent me to bed.
Jeez.
The next day, we spotted Harold in the hallway before class. Hey man, what's up? How was your tutoring session? Damien asked. Fine, he said and walked away. Fine? I looked at Damien
rude.
worriedly. Harold never gave one-word answers to anything. In fact, it was hard to get him to shut up. This was not like him at all. We followed him to English class and tried to continue talking to him. Aren't you glad it's Friday? We get to relax all weekend, and you don't have to worry about stupid science, I laughed. Science isn't stupid. It's a vital part of our lives. I wish you two would stop being so immature.
Okay, calm down, sir.
We were flabbergasted. Words like immature weren't even part of Harold's vocabulary. In fact, Harold was the definition of immature.
That's ironic.
Who are you, and what have you done with our friend? Damien laughed and rolled his eyes. This would have been fine if he had snapped back to normal, but he didn't. For an entire week, all we got out of Harold were one-word responses and cold expressions.
He don't like you no more.
We tried to figure it out, but we couldn't. Do you think your brother's story is true? Damien asked while we were relaxing in his living room one evening. I laughed at it, but it seems that the same thing that happened to Jonathan's friend is happening to Harold. He really isn't himself. He's been avoiding us too, I replied. I wonder what happens at that weird tutoring session. Maybe we should investigate, said Damien. We put our heads together and came up with a plan.
Literally.
Damien would fail all of his assignments and quizzes on purpose. Hopefully, Mr. Carter would set up one of his weird tutoring sessions, and then we'd know what really happens. But what if the same thing happens to me? How will you know what happened if I don't tell you? Damien asked. We'll set up a recording device and hide it in your clothes. While you're over there, I'll be able to listen to everything that's going on, I replied. We got to work the next week. Damien consistently failed everything, while Harold aced every single exam. It took about a month, but Mr. Carter finally asked to speak to Damien after class and set up a tutoring session for that same evening.
No.
This is it, I said to Damien as we went to his house that afternoon to prepare.
Well, I got Twister in the
I'd already
background.
ordered the recording device and hooked it up to my phone and PC. When he was all ready to leave, he said, I don't really know about this. I have a bad feeling and I'm really nervous. Come on, don't be. We've worked very hard to get this far. Well, I mean, you failed everything and that wasn't hard work, but we have to find out what happened to Harold. We're doing this for him. And remember, I can hear everything. It'll be fine, I said. He looked like he felt reassured. Now go quickly and I'll go home to monitor you on my PC, I said. We parted ways and I went home quickly. As soon as I got home, I went up to my room and began listening to Damien and Mr. Carter. I was just on time. I heard Damien knock on the door and I heard Mr. Carter come to open it. I pictured it all in my head as it was happening. Thanks for coming, Damien. Come in. Here, have a seat. I've ordered some pizza so you can have a snack before we start. Mr.
Don't
Carter
eat nothing.
said. Thanks. How long is it going to take? Damien asked. Not too long. Don't worry, Mr. Carter replied. I heard two chairs being pulled out, so I assumed that they were now sitting down. It also sounded like Damien was chewing. This pizza is good, Damien said. The pig, I thought. Then I didn't hear him for a while. Are you okay? Mr. Carter said. I just feel a bit drowsy, Damien replied.
Oh my god, he got
I
drugged.
heard a thud. After that, I heard some shuffling. Then I heard loud footsteps and grunting. It sounded like Damien was being carried down some steps.
He drugged him.
Finally, I heard a door open, and what I heard next terrified me. I heard several screams and pleads for help. Let us out. We're hungry. Help us.
He's kidnapping all the
Don't leave us
kids.
here. I heard another thud, and then there was silence. I didn't know what to do. Maybe I should have called the police right then, but for a few minutes, I was just shocked.
Do you have evidence?
I went to the kitchen, then ran back up to my room. I still heard nothing through the recording device. I dialed Damien's number, and he picked up right away. Hey, are you okay? I asked. Yeah, I'm fine. Why do you ask? He said. All the noises. Well, you'll tell me all about it tomorrow, I said, and hung
That's
up
not him.
relieved that he was okay. The next day, I woke up to a screeching sound from my computer. Carlos, can you hear me? It was Damien. Listen, I'm in a basement in Mr. Carter's house. Harold is here too. Mr. Carter gave me some food that made me really drowsy. But before I knocked out, I saw some weird machines in his house. There were people in them. Well, I don't know if they were real people, they might be clones. I could have sworn I saw one that looked just like me.
He's
I'm
cloning
so
the kids.
afraid. And Harold's gotten so skinny, he only throws some scraps of bread in here once in a while. This is crazy. You have to help us. Unfortunately, I could only listen, but I couldn't reply. I got ready quickly and went to school to see if Damien, well, his clone, was there. I bumped into him almost as soon as I walked in through the gate. "Damien," I said. "What?" it replied, with the same cold stare that Harold had a few weeks ago. "You need to come with me, quickly. Just be quiet and run. It's an emergency," I said, and I grabbed his arm. Surprisingly, it ran with me all the way to my house. I brought it to my room, knocked it on its head, and tied it up. "Good.
Violent.
Now stay there and be quiet," I said while taping its mouth shut. Then, I went straight to the police station to report a kidnapping. At first, they laughed at my story, but then I
Rude.
played Damien's recording, and they started to take me a bit more seriously. Because it was a school day, Mr. Carter was somewhere in class. We drove over to his house and broke the door open. I stared at all the odd bodies stored in huge glass containers filled with some kind of liquid.
Ooh.
For a while, I was frozen. Then I remembered. "Harold, Damien, they're in the basement," I shouted.
Okay,
The
buck
police
teeth.
found the basement door and broke it open. When we looked inside, we could not believe it. There were at least 20 kids and even some adults in there. Damien and Harold ran out.
Go.
"You did it, Carlos." The policemen had to call for backup, and a few of them went to the school to arrest Mr. Carter. Several ambulances arrived to take away everyone. Harold and Damien were taken to the hospital, and I suddenly remembered that I had Damien's clone tied up in my room. I informed the policemen who went to get him. Everyone was completely confused, of course. How was a simple science teacher able to create such accurate clones? And if he had such a remarkable discovery, why did he choose to teach at a high school? Apparently, the clone's brains were programmed to be able to ace all his exams. It was almost like they were half human, half robot. But why would someone do all that work just to seem like a good teacher? It was all too weird. This case is still being investigated, and it has not been publicized. All of the clones have been captured and sent to a secure research laboratory. Damien, Harold, and I are regarded as heroes in our town now. We decided that we'd start a small business together after we leave high school because we want to be as far away from teachers and professors as possible. We don't trust them anymore.
I wouldn't either, sis. This guy is so extra. He wants to be the best teacher that bad. Dude, calm down. I would still fail the class. Even if I was a robot, I would still fail. I'm that bad at science. Anyways, that's it for today's animated story time. Again, I linked her channel down below. Go check her out. And as always, please subscribe and follow me on Instagram. Links are also down below. And that's it. So I will see you weird people next time.